Zelensky. Zelensky called on the West to bring about regime change in Russia. Well, apparently, all it takes to change the regime in Russia is a single scythe in the hands of an anorexic old woman in a black cloak. And so this sweet old lady with a scythe will come, knock down the Spasskaya Tower with a blow from her skeletal fist, break open the gates, and restore order in the Kremlin. But the thing is, this sensible idea to change the regime in Russia is a good one, but the disease called Russia is too far gone. The idea, yes, the idea is wonderful. But the significant problem is that there is absolutely nothing, no viable alternative to effectively replace the current regime in Russia with. The undeniable fact is that the most organic and truly comfortable regime for Russia is the established order, the very specific way of life that existed on its territory in the pivotal year of 1937. Later, people tried to vilify it, to portray it as some kind of accidental excess, but it was precisely that period which was the Russian paradise, where national dreams came true and potentials were realized. The intellectuals, with their triple-layered rose-colored glasses, as always, turned everything upside down. It wasn't 1937, but rather all those perestroikas and thaws that were the perversions, the absurd anomalies that briefly, like illnesses, interrupted the natural course of Russian history. But then everything would be corrected, restored. The temporary illness of liberalization would be cured, and once again, crowds of Chekists would break down doors in the morning, dragging intellectuals out by the scruff of the neck. Once again, the arrests would begin, and once again, the construction of the Russian world would commence. Judging by the obsession with which, for many centuries, the country has strived for a primitive dictatorship in any situation, it seems that for Russia, true happiness requires Chekist lawlessness, dull bureaucrats, poverty for 90% of the population, and all the other trappings of its nightmare. For happiness, it needs to bomb, imprison, and drink blood by the cistern. Without this, there is absolutely no joy in life. And Zelensky, who, probably having also forgotten what Russia is like, talks about the need for regime change, must understand that, well, for example, look, there has never been such a thing as chivalry in Russia. Russia has always fought as a herd and lived very much as a herd. And now the trend that unites it, that glues it together into this herd mentality, is precisely that very thing, Russian fascism. But do you truly know who was the very first individual to explicitly use the significant word fascism in direct relation to Russia and to any serious attempts to construct a stable state within Russia, and did so a very considerable long time ago indeed, long before the devastating World War II even began? It was Ivan Petrovich Pavlov who wrote in a letter to Molotov, "You are mistaken in believing in your proletarian revolution. You are not sowing revolution throughout the civilized world, but rather with great success, fascism. Before your revolution, there was no fascism. All other governments," writes Ivan Petrovich, "have no desire whatsoever to see in their own countries what has been and still is present in ours." Well, I'll post this quote on the channel later.